What if an object drifting silently through the dark of interstellar space could change not only how we see the universe, but how we see ourselves? This is where the story of 3I Atlas begins. It was 2019 when astronomers first noticed it, a faint blur of light against the endless backdrop of stars. At first they thought it was nothing remarkable, a comet, an icy traveller from beyond, a third interstellar interloper, following in the ghostly wakes of Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. But as calculations deepened, trajectories sharpened, and the strange path of this icy visitor revealed itself, the whispering thought began. What if? What if this wasn't just a comet? What if its presence meant more than icy dust and fading gas? What if it was doing something, not just to space, but to us? The first shiver of wonder. The moment humanity looks up and sees something that doesn't belong, the heart shifts. It always has. When Galileo turned his telescope toward Jupiter and saw its moons, humanity's place in the cosmos cracked open. When Einstein's equations bent light, our reality stretched. And when Oumuamua tumbled past, the first whispers of alien technology rippled through every curious mind. So with 3I Atlas, the same shiver returned. Here was an object, tens of thousands of kilometers wide in its coma, glowing faintly, pulling gently through our solar system on a trajectory that felt improbably precise. Venus, Mars, Jupiter. It brushed near them all, as though weaving some deliberate course. By chance, perhaps. But chance can be a trickster, and coincidence often looks suspicious when the odds are 0.005%. Imagine you're lying in bed, listening to this story, eyes half closed. Picture a faint glow sliding across the night sky, not visible to your naked eye but real, tracked by the world's greatest observatories. And now imagine not what it is, but what it is doing to you right now. Already it has planted a seed of doubt, of wonder, of suspicion. Already it has made you lean closer, straining to catch the next word. That is its first act upon humanity. Curiosity. The quiet revolution of fear and fascination. Humans are curious creatures, but curiosity is not soft. It is dangerous, disruptive, life-changing. A question is a match struck in the dark, and once lit, it refuses to be unseen. Think of what 3I Atlas did the moment it was announced. Newspapers wrote about it. Social media buzzed with it. YouTube filled with speculation. Was it just a comet? Or was it a machine? A probe? A messenger? Suddenly, in a world where billions go to bed thinking about jobs, families, and daily struggles, something far away and alien had stolen a slice of our attention. That attention is power. Not because 3I Atlas intends it, but because humans cannot resist mysteries. We are wired to chase patterns, to assign meaning to the unknown, to dream, to fear. And so, 3I Atlas began its quiet revolution, not in space, but in our minds, the signal of change. If you close your eyes now, imagine Earth seen from orbit, a delicate blue sphere wrapped in clouds lit by sunrises and sunsets. Now picture a comet-like body gliding silently across the black. It is not speaking, it is not sending signals, it is not landing on our world, and yet, somehow, it is sending a signal. Because the signal is us. Every late-night podcast speculating on its nature, every sleepless astronomer watching its path, every artist sketching it in a notebook, every child who hears the word interstellar and feels a chill of possibility. This is the transmission. 3I Atlas doesn't need to broadcast. It already broadcasts through us. And what is it broadcasting? Change. Humanity is already different because it exists. Not because of what it is doing, but because of what we are doing in response. Ancient echoes. But this is not new. Humanity has always been changed by the sky. When a comet blazed in the ancient world, kings trembled and prophets declared omens. When shooting stars streaked across the heavens, people saw messages from gods. The cosmos has always written stories on the human soul. So in some strange, poetic way, 3i Atlas is simply continuing this old dance. It is reminding us of something we forgot, that the universe is not silent, not dead, not irrelevant to our small lives. It is alive, moving, whispering. And in the whisper of Atlas's glow, humanity once again feels the shiver of awe. Science awakens. Scientists are not immune to this spell. In fact, they are its most sensitive receptors. For every paper written about 3i Atlas, there is a hidden heartbeat. Wonder. Every calculation of trajectory is a coded message. Could it be? Every telescope turned skyward is secretly a prayer. And here is the second act of what Atlas does to humanity. It sharpens our science. Funding flows toward observatories. Students are inspired to study astrophysics. Engineers dream of better telescopes. A single icy traveller has accelerated the machinery of human curiosity. If you wonder how humanity will someday reach the stars, this is how, not only by rockets and engines, but by questions. Questions are the true fuel of civilization, the mirror of ourselves. But there is another effect, deeper, quieter, and more personal. What if Atlas is not only showing us the sky, but showing us ourselves? Think of the debates it has sparked. Is it natural, artificial, harmless, dangerous? These debates reveal less about the comet and more about us. Optimists dream of alien contact, cynics fear invasion, realists shrug and say, probably just ice and dust. This diversity of reactions is a mirror. Atlas has become a test, a reflection of our psychology, our hopes, our fears. It is not just a visitor in space, it is a visitor in our minds. The beginning of the journey. So here we are, at the edge of this story. A mysterious interstellar object has entered our solar system, and already, without touching us, without even speaking to us, it has changed humanity. It has made us more curious, more imaginative, more fearful, more united and more divided. It has sharpened our science, deepened our myths, and mirrored our souls. And this is only the beginning. Because in the chapters to come, we will ask, what happens next? If Atlas is technology, what is it designed to do? If it is watching us, what does it see? If it is changing us, where is it guiding us? And if humanity listens too closely, could we be walking into a destiny we do not yet understand? Close your eyes now. Breathe slowly. Imagine Atlas glowing faintly above the horizon. Not a comet, not a machine, but a question. And with every question, humanity steps closer to its future. What if the presence of 3i Atlas is not just an astronomical event, but a psychological one? What if the real story is not about ice and dust at all, but about the way a single glowing traveller can haunt the imagination of an entire species? We often believe that only tangible forces, wars, inventions, disasters, reshape humanity. But sometimes the greatest shifts come from something subtler, an idea, a mystery, a glimpse of the unknown. And in this way, 3i Atlas is less an object than a mirror held against the human mind, revealing who we are when we face the possibility of the other. Let us wander into that mirror, calmly and gently, as if drifting through a dream. The collective shiver. Imagine a classroom full of children, their teacher pulling down a projection of the night sky. She points to a faint dot labelled 3i Atlas. A murmur fills the room. An interstellar comet? For some children this is nothing more than trivia, but for others it is the first spark of something life-changing. One child will grow up to design telescopes, another will write novels about alien life, another will spend nights gazing at the stars, haunted by the possibility of being watched. Now imagine millions of such moments across the globe. a scientist explaining it in a lecture hall, a father pointing it out to his child while scrolling through the news, a lonely traveller staring at a phone screen in the middle of the night. Each moment is a shiver in the collective human soul. This is the subtle power of Atlas. It ripples through the human network of minds, sowing seeds of wonder, anxiety, and inspiration. The language of the unknown humans are storytellers. When we encounter something strange, we explain it not with equations first, but with myth, metaphor, and narrative. In the days after Atlas was discovered, the internet bloomed with language. The alien comet, the Watcher, a messenger from the stars. These names reveal something deeper than data. They reveal that we cannot simply look at an interstellar traveller without asking, what if it has meaning? And so, even before scientists finish calculating its orbital elements, humanity has already placed it into myth. Myth is how we process the unknown. Myth is how we soften fear into story, and story into dream. The anxiety of contact. But dreams are not always gentle. For many, ATLAS is not a comfort but a threat. In online forums, some argue, what if it's a probe? What if we're being surveyed? What if it's the beginning of something we can't control? Fear sharpens curiosity into paranoia. This is humanity's ancient reflex, to fear the unknown sky. Thousands of years ago, a comet meant famine, war, or divine punishment. That instinct is still alive within us. Atlas awakens it. And so, while some drift into sleep with dreams of alien contact, others lie awake, their thoughts tight with dread. This duality, wonder and fear, is the very heartbeat of human psychology when faced with the unknown, the constellation of culture. Now let us zoom out. Imagine humanity not as billions of individuals, but as a single organism, a planetary mind. Every culture is like a neuron, firing differently when struck by the stimulus of Atlas. In the West, the story often tilts towards science fiction, echoes of Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama, or the shadow of Oumuamua's mystery. In the East, Atlas may be woven into cycles of cosmology, ancient sky lore, and the rhythm of omens. In indigenous traditions, the arrival of a sky visitor often ties back to ancestral stories of guidance, prophecy, or warning. The same object, but interpreted through thousands of cultural lenses. Atlas does not just cross our solar system, it crosses our myths. The deepest psychological trick. Here lies the greatest trick of all. Atlas does not need to be artificial to behave as though it is. Consider this. If an alien civilization wanted to influence humanity, would they need to send messages, signals, or landings? Or could they simply release an object into our system, a mysterious body with just enough strangeness to trigger speculation? Humanity would do the rest. We would build the stories, the myths, the fears. We would change ourselves. This possibility lingers in the mind like a quiet echo. Is ATLAS doing this on purpose? The shaping of science fiction and science fact. Already, writers, artists, and thinkers are weaving a TLAS into their work. Science fiction authors are sketching stories where it is not a comet at all, but a probe cloaked in dust. Filmmakers imagine a glowing visitor hanging above a city skyline. Dreamers turn it into a cosmic symbol of awakening. And here is where science and imagination intertwine. Fiction fuels interest in astronomy. Art inspires funding for telescopes. Dreams drive engineering. What begins as imagination ends as reality. This is humanity's secret. Our visions create our futures, and Atlas is feeding those visions. A slow awakening. If you close your eyes now, imagine that you are lying on a hill, the night sky stretched above you. Somewhere out there, unseen, our TLAS glides. You do not hear it, you do not feel it, and yet you are different because it exists. This is the quiet paradox. Our TLAS does nothing, and yet it does everything. It awakens questions, it bends thoughts, it shapes futures. And humanity, fragile and curious, leans closer to the sky than it did before. The whisper of a new era, perhaps. This is how a new era always begins, not with explosions or landings, but with whispers, with faint lights in the sky that nudge us awake, with questions that will not go away. In this way, 3i Atlas may be one of the most important visitors humanity has ever witnessed. Not because of what it is physically, but because of what it does psychologically. It whispers to us, "You are not alone, you are not done. The universe is larger than you think." And humanity listens, trembling and dreaming, standing on the threshold of change. The road ahead. This is only the second step in our journey. We have seen how ATLAS moves through the mind, awakening wonder, anxiety, story, and myth. But in the next chapter, we will see how it moves through something even more fragile, our societies. For when governments, corporations, religions, and cultures collide with mystery, the results are unpredictable. And so, we will ask, what is a TLAS doing to our politics, our unity, our conflicts? Could this single, icy visitor already be reshaping the destiny of nations? Close your eyes now, breathe slowly, and let the comet drift across your imagination, silent but powerful, as we step into the next part of our journey. What if the true power of 3i Atlas is not in its icy nucleus, nor in its dust-filled coma, but in the way it rearranges human society? What if its most profound effect is not gravitational, but political? Objects from interstellar space pass silently, but humanity is never silent. We argue, we debate, we fear, we plan. And when something like Atlas drifts through our solar system, humanity's political heart begins to beat faster. Governments watch, military planners speculate, religious leaders whisper sermons, and citizens scattered across the world find themselves pulled into a web of awe, suspicion, and hope. Atlas is not just a comet, it is a catalyst. First contact with power. When Oumuamua appeared in 2017, there were murmurs, what if it's a probe? Could aliens be near? Atlas revived those murmurs. Only this time, the world was different. Geopolitical tensions had sharpened, technology had accelerated, information spread like wildfire through social media. So when astronomers announced 3i Atlas's strange trajectory, world leaders noticed. Telescopes turned upward were not only scientific instruments, they were political ones. Because if Atlas were anything more than a comet, the stakes would be immeasurable. Consider this. If an alien object entered our system, who owns the right to study it? Who has the right to respond? Humanity has no unified voice in space. And so, every nation watches, not just with curiosity, but with rivalry. The whisper of military eyes. Behind closed doors, generals and strategists consider darker possibilities. What if Atlas is surveillance? What if it carries information back to some distant civilization? What if it is a weapon, dormant and waiting? Even if the odds are low, the military mind cannot ignore them. And so, classified reports are written. Satellites track its movement. Radars sweep for anomalies. The object may be harmless, but the fear it sparks is real. And here lies Atlas's second act upon humanity. Paranoia. The fear that something beyond our control is watching us. It may not be true, but the suspicion alone shapes policy. Funds are redirected, secret projects accelerate, all because of a glowing blur that drifts silently through space, the voice of religion. But not only politics awakens, religion too stirs. Throughout history, the skies have always been tied to the sacred. A star guided the wise men. Eclipses were omens. Comets were messengers of divine will. And so, Atlas is absorbed into modern theology. Some preachers call it a sign of judgment. Others call it a beacon of hope. In temples, churches, mosques, and meditation halls, people whisper, "What if this is a message? What if it means something for us now?" The object itself says nothing, but humanity cannot resist giving it a voice. For some, it is the voice of God. For others, it is the silence of the infinite, the strain of division. And yet, division follows. If one nation claims Atlas as a natural object while another claims it as alien, mistrust grows. If one religion sees it as prophecy while another sees it as deception, arguments ignite. If one group demands peace while another demands defense, society fractures. The comet does not divide us. We divide ourselves. Atlas is only the mirror, but mirrors can be dangerous when what they reflect is fear. The dream of unity. Yet there is another possibility. For as much as Atlas divides, it can also unite. Consider this. Humanity has always dreamed of a moment when the world might set aside its conflicts to face the stars together. Politicians have said it. Astronomers have hoped for it. Ordinary people have longed for it. Atlas offers that chance. It is not hostile, not urgent, not invasive. It is simply here. Enough to spark imagination, but not enough to terrify. Perhaps this is the perfect kind of visitor, the kind that allows humanity to practice unity before the stakes become higher. And so, international coalitions form. Scientists from rival nations share data. Observatories coordinate. Citizens across the world, from villages to skyscrapers, look at the same sky and wonder the same question. Are we being watched? In this shared wonder, humanity feels a flicker of something rare. Common destiny. The politics of silence. But silence can be louder than speech. Imagine for a moment that ATLAS is alien technology. Imagine that governments already suspect this. Would they tell us? Or would they hide it, fearing panic? History suggests the latter. Powerful institutions often guard mysteries, deciding what humanity can and cannot handle. The public might be left in the dark, lulled with stories of icy dust, while secrets are studied behind locked doors. If this is true, then ATLAS is already doing something profound to humanity, forcing us to question trust itself. Whom do we believe? The scientists, the governments, the whisperers on the internet? The comet itself is silent, but the silence around it breeds doubt, and doubt corrodes unity faster than fear. The seeds of a movement. But every silence births a counter-voice. Movements rise, activists demand transparency, writers insist on truth, citizens gather online to speculate and share theories. Some claim Atlas is a probe, some claim it is a warning, some claim it is simply a mirror of our longing. Regardless of what it is, it becomes a movement, a symbol, a flag waved by those who believe humanity deserves answers. And in this way, Atlas becomes not just a comet, but a cause, the cosmic political theatre. Step back now. Imagine Earth as a stage. Nations are actors, religions are narrators, corporations are stage hands. And above them all, drifting silently, Atlas plays the role of the uninvited guest. It says nothing. It does nothing. And yet the entire performance rearranges itself around its presence. This is the paradox of power. The most powerful forces do not always act. Sometimes they simply exist, and humanity does the rest. Atlas has become such a force toward the future. So, what is 3i Atlas doing to humanity politically? It is stirring paranoia. It is whispering unity. It is reshaping religion. It is challenging trust. It is igniting movements. It is doing nothing and everything. And this is only the third step of our journey, because next we must move deeper, not into politics or religion, but into the very soul of humanity. For beyond fear and power lies something even more fragile: meaning. What if Atlas is not just a scientific or political event, but a spiritual one? What if its greatest act upon humanity is to awaken our sense of destiny? Close your eyes. Imagine the comet drifting across a velvet sky. Imagine the whispers it leaves in the corridors of power, in the prayers of temples, in the doubts of citizens. And then imagine this question hanging over it all. What if it is not only visiting the solar system, but visiting us? What if the presence of 3i Atlas is not just about science or politics, but about the deepest layers of the human spirit? What if its true impact is not on our telescopes or governments, but on our sense of meaning, our place in the cosmos, and our vision of destiny? Science can measure the orbit of Atlas, politics can debate its implications. But the human heart asks different questions. Why is it here? What does it mean? What does this say about us? These questions do not belong to astronomers alone. They belong to poets, philosophers, dreamers, and all who have ever looked at the night sky and wondered. And so, Atlas is not only a physical visitor, it is a spiritual one. The ancient longing. Since the first humans walked beneath the stars, there has been a longing, a quiet ache that comes from gazing upward. The sky has always been a mirror for our souls. When ancient shamans traced constellations, they were not mapping stars, they were mapping meaning. When prophets pointed to comets, they were not describing physics, they were describing destiny. The heavens were never just space, they were story. And now, in the 21st century, Atlas reawakens that same ancient reflex. We cannot look at it without wondering, what does it mean for us? The silence that speaks. Atlas does not speak. It does not send messages. It does not shine with unusual signals. And yet, its silence is louder than any transmission. Because silence demands interpretation. In the blank space of its mystery, humanity writes its own script. Some see it as an omen of doom. Some see it as a sign of hope. Some see it as proof that we are part of a greater story. Its silence is a canvas, and on it humanity paints its deepest hopes and fears. The cosmic mirror. Here lies the paradox. Atlas does nothing, yet it reflects everything. It reflects our optimism, when people dream of benevolent civilizations sending us gifts. It reflects our pessimism, when others fear invasion, surveillance, or doom. It reflects our humility, when we remember how small we are. And it reflects our arrogance when we imagine that it might have come here just for us. Atlas is not changing the universe. It is changing the way we see ourselves within it. The awakening of spiritual movements. Throughout history, new celestial phenomena have sparked new movements of thought. Solar eclipses inspired rituals. Supernovae became omens. The discovery of galaxies reshaped theology. And now, Atlas begins to stir the same currents. New spiritual communities arise online, treating its passage as a sacred event. Some call it a messenger of awakening, here to guide humanity into a higher consciousness. Others frame it as a cosmic test. Will we respond with fear or with wisdom? Whether or not these interpretations are true, they reveal something profound. The human spirit cannot resist assigning meaning to mystery. Atlas becomes not only an astronomical event, but a sacred symbol. Dreams beneath the comet. If you close your eyes, you might even dream of Atlas. Perhaps you see it hovering above a city, glowing softly, its tail spilling colours across the horizon. People below lift their eyes, united in silence. The dream is not about the comet itself. It is about connection, awe, the strange pull of the infinite. And indeed, dreams of Atlas have already been shared in forums and communities. Some dream of being taken aboard it. Others dream of it falling to Earth. Others simply dream of standing beneath its glow. Dreams are not facts, but they reveal truths of another kind. The truths of the unconscious. The truths of longing. The spiritual paradox. Atlas offers us a paradox. If it is just a comet, why do we feel so moved by it? If it is technology, why does it awaken not only science but faith? If it is silent, why do we hear so many messages in it? Perhaps the paradox is the point. Perhaps the true gift of Atlas is not what it is, but what it awakens inside us. Because the human spirit grows not in certainty, but in mystery. Humanity's place in the cosmos. For centuries, humanity believed we were the center of everything. Then Copernicus shifted the Earth from the center. Then Hubble showed us galaxies beyond number. Then interstellar visitors like Oumuamua and now Atlas reminded us that our solar system is not an island, but part of a grander ocean. Atlas does not just drift through our system, it drifts through our self-image. It humbles us. It forces us to see ourselves not as the masters of the cosmos, but as children staring upward, waiting to learn. And in that humility there is a strange beauty, the pilgrimage of wonder. Already people gather to watch the sky when Atlas is mentioned in the news. Amateur astronomers set up telescopes. Children ask their parents to explain. Couples hold hands and gaze upward together. It becomes a kind of pilgrimage, not to a temple, but to the open sky. A reminder that sometimes the holiest place is not a building, but the cosmos itself. Atlas becomes a shrine of wonder, not carved from stone, but traced in light and distance. Toward destiny. So what is Atlas doing to the human spirit? It is reminding us that we are seekers. It is awakening dreams we thought were forgotten. It is stirring new movements of thought, new spiritual awakenings. It is reshaping our sense of destiny. And perhaps that is its true mission. Not to communicate, not to intervene, but simply to remind us of who we are. For we are not just creatures of Earth. We are creatures of the stars. And when something like Atlas passes through, it whispers that truth back to us. Close your eyes. Imagine the comet gliding silently, beyond reach, but not beyond meaning. Imagine the way it shines not just in the sky, but in the soul of humanity. And let that gentle reminder guide you toward rest as we prepare to continue our journey. Because in the next chapter, we will move from spirit to science once again, asking, what if Atlas is technology after all? What if its meaning is not only spiritual, but literal? What if 3i Atlas is not a comet at all? What if its icy disguise hides machinery? What if its purpose is not random travel, but intentional design? What if it is technology, sent by intelligence beyond our imagination? This is not a question of science fiction anymore. Some of the brightest minds in astronomy and astrophysics have already debated whether interstellar objects like Oumuamua and now Atlas could be engineered. And the more we look at Atlas, the more its behavior raises eyebrows. At first glance, Atlas behaves like a comet. It glides along its hyperbolic path, heading into and then out of our solar system, never to return. But when astronomers chart its orbit, something feels unusual. Its trajectory shows tiny anomalies, slight deviations that don't fully fit with expectations. Radiation pressure, solar wind, gravitational pulls. Yes, these can explain some of it. But what if the explanation lies elsewhere? Some scientists whisper, it moves like a ship adjusting course. A natural comet drifts. A constructed vessel navigates. Could Atlas be doing the latter? A hidden engine? What would an interstellar probe look like? Would we even recognize it? If advanced civilizations wanted to send scouts, they might design them to blend in with natural objects. A disguised ship would look like an asteroid or comet, with a crust of ice and dust shielding the machinery beneath. From afar, telescopes would classify it as just another space rock. Only up close would we notice the truth. So, when Atlas displays outgassing jets, strange reflections or slight course corrections, are we seeing natural cometary behavior or the exhaust of a hidden engine? We cannot yet know, but the possibility stirs both excitement and unease. Another possibility, Atlas is not a ship, but a message. Imagine an advanced civilization, older than our species by millions of years. To them, interstellar distances are not barriers, they are invitations. To bridge the stars, they send time capsules, objects seeded with information, designed to last for eons. What if Atlas is one of these? Its icy shell would preserve memory cores. Its tail would scatter dust encoded with nanoscopic patterns, messages written not in language, but in structure. Perhaps even now, tiny fragments of Atlas are falling invisibly across Earth, carrying alien knowledge waiting to be decoded. Humanity's first contact? If Atlas is technology, then its passage through our system is not random. It is intentional, which means we are living through something historic, the first true contact between humanity and another intelligence. But here lies the paradox. The contact is silent. No signals, no beams, no obvious attempts to communicate. Why? Perhaps the makers of Atlas are cautious. Perhaps they want only to observe. Perhaps they believe we're not ready. Or perhaps their method of communication is so alien, so outside our imagination, that we do not even realize we're already being spoken to. The observer effect, consider this. What if Atlas is here not to interact, but to watch? Its path takes it close enough to Earth for observation, yet distant enough to avoid capture. It records, studies, analyzes. To us, it is a comet. To them, it is a lens. And if it is observing, then the question becomes, what are they learning about us? They see a species divided, yet connected, capable of wonder, yet also of destruction. They see us argue about what Atlas means: science, faith, conspiracy. They see us projecting our hopes and fears onto a silent traveller. Perhaps that is the very experiment, to see how humanity reacts to mystery. The cosmic zoo hypothesis. Some scientists have suggested that alien civilizations may treat younger species like exhibits in a zoo. They watch from afar but avoid direct interference. They wait for us to reach a certain maturity before revealing themselves. If this is true, then Atlas could be a drone from the zookeepers, a probe drifting by to check on Earth, to ensure we are still within our cosmic enclosure. The unsettling part of this theory is not that we are observed. It is that we might be evaluated. What if Atlas is here to measure our progress, to determine whether we are worthy of joining a galactic community or destined to remain isolated? The ship that sleeps. Another speculation. Atlas is not active at all. It is sleeping. Imagine a vessel sent millions of years ago drifting until it encounters a star system. As it nears a sun, its systems awaken. Sensors unfold. Antennas extend. The ship comes alive again. If Atlas is such a vessel, then right now, at this very moment, it could be waking up. We would not notice from Earth. The signals might be too subtle. The transformation might be hidden beneath its icy surface. But somewhere inside, alien machinery could be humming after eons of silence. The unnerving possibility. But there is another, darker angle. What if Atlas is not a gift, not a message, not a sleeping ship, but a weapon? History shows us that exploration often carries conquest. Ships that arrived on foreign shores did not always bring peace. They brought colonization, domination, extinction. If an advanced civilization seeded probes across the galaxy, perhaps not all of them are benign. Perhaps some are designed to scout for resources, to test defenses, to prepare worlds for harvest. And if Atlas is one of those, then what is it doing to humanity? It may already be mapping us, probing our communications, measuring our weaknesses. Its silence may not be the quiet of peace, but the quiet of calculation. Humanity's choice. Faced with such possibilities, humanity has two options. We can dismiss Atlas as just another comet, comforting ourselves with natural explanations, or we can embrace the possibility that it is technology and prepare ourselves for the implications. But preparation does not mean panic. It means awakening, expanding our imagination, strengthening our unity. For whether Atlas is natural or artificial, its passage forces us to confront the same truth. We are not alone in the cosmos, and that truth changes everything. The psychological impact. Already, the very idea of Atlas as alien technology is reshaping human thought. Science fiction authors are writing new stories. Spiritual leaders are drawing new interpretations. Online communities are debating, speculating, dreaming. Governments whisper in secret about defense. Atlas does not need to reveal itself to change humanity. Its mere presence, and the questions it raises, is enough. Because once the seed of possibility is planted, it cannot be uprooted. Humanity will never again look at the night sky in the same way. Toward the future. So, what if Atlas is alien technology? Then it is not only a visitor to our solar system, it is a visitor to our minds, our culture, our destiny. It reshapes our science, our spirituality, our politics, our imagination. Perhaps it is only passing through. Perhaps it will never return, but its shadow will remain, etched into the story of humanity. For in this age, we're no longer just asking, what is out there? We're asking, what is out there and watching us? And as Atlas drifts silently beyond reach, we're left with the humbling, thrilling, and terrifying possibility that the answer is already here. What if 3i Atlas is doing something more subtle than spying or seeding? What if it is quietly changing how we think, act, and build? Not by touching our planets, but by touching our networks, our institutions, our technologies, and the tiny synapses of culture. In this chapter, we look at the direct and immediate ways Atlas begins to reshape human life, from psychology to technology, from economics to daily conversation. We already walked through the wonder, the myths, the politics. Now we come to the place where the abstract becomes concrete, how a single mysterious object can rewire a species that talks to itself across glowing screens, builds on shared trust, and moves at the pace of rumor and funding. Attention is currency. The first thing Atlas takes from us is attention. Attention is a strange kind of currency. When enough people pay it, institutions rearrange to capture it. Funders redirect money. Universities prioritize telescopes. Journalists write features. Influencers craft narratives. The world's attention is a gravitational field that pulls otherwise unrelated forces into alignment. With Atlas, attention multiplies. A viral image, a dramatic simulation, a late-night speculation thread. Each is a spark. Television panels, podcasts, scientific blogs, and late-night live streams feed on each other. Attention pours into one tiny sunburst of curiosity, and that spillover changes budgets. A national space agency that had planned a decade of budget increases now sees requests for emergency funding for a dedicated Atlas observation mission. Venture capitalists notice a surge in startups proposing space situational awareness tools. Colleges that were stretched reallocate grants toward astrophysics and machine learning teams that pretend to decode cometary behavior. Attention is not neutral. The way it flows determines what humanity decides to care about. Atlas concentrates attention in a way that subtly but irrevocably shifts priorities. Telescopes over sports arenas, sky calculators over skywalks. Careers are born from it. Young minds choose fields because of it. That ripple transforms the human future. The tools of interpretation. Once attention fixes on Atlas, tools proliferate. New software to parse telescope data. New machine learning models trained to separate cosmic noise from pattern. New networks linking observatories across hemispheres. The technical response is immediate. Citizen science apps appear, letting backyard astronomers upload images. New open data sets release timelines of Atlas's brightness and position. Universities spin up interdisciplinary teams, astrophysicists working with linguists, psychologists, and cryptographers, trying to understand whether behavior is accidental or designed. Technologies morph quickly when purpose sharpens. Algorithms that once optimized ad targeting are tasked to search for repeating features in dust plumes. GPUs that accelerated games now render millions of orbital simulations. The commercial space sector repurposes satellite imagery networks to triangulate precise micro-movements. In short order, the machinery of modern life reshapes itself to study a single interstellar visitor. That reshaping alters what technology is optimized for. Tools that might have become consumer convenience instead become instruments of cosmic curiosity. Atlas changes our machines by giving them a new goal: to be watchers of watchers, to be instruments that hear the silence of an object and try to translate it. The spread of new disciplines. Major disruptions create new fields. Out of Atlas's wake, interdisciplinary programs blossom. Exo-interdisciplinary studies, astrosemiotics, xenopsychology. These are not whims. They are institutional responses to concrete needs. How to interpret an object that could be natural, technological, symbolic, or all three. Students now take courses that combine orbital mechanics with narrative analysis, machine learning with cultural anthropology. Entire summer programs run mock missions to test human responses. The result is a generation trained to think beyond the rigid silos of the 20th century. They will see Atlas not as a story, but as a case study. How to plan, how to respond, how to maintain ethical restraint. This renaissance of disciplines rewires academia and eventually industry. Grants follow, departments grow, and a new vocabulary enters public discourse. Words like exo-artifactuality and trajectory semiotics sound strange at first, but they become commonplace because Atlas demanded the questions for which they are the answers. The economics of speculation. There is always economic fallout when a global narrative crystallizes. Markets react not only to facts but to expectation. Atlas creates an economy of speculation. Companies that mine asteroidal material see opportunities. Insurance firms rewrite space risk policies. Satellite operators invest in better early warning systems. Contracts are signed for hypothetical missions. Artists sell prints of imagined Atlas cities. Streaming platforms fund series exploring its mystery. Even commodity markets jitter as investors ponder long-term scenarios. New materials, new propulsion, new industries. This speculative economy is not merely profit-chasing, it's productive. Much of our modern economy has been built on similar waves of speculative attention. A rumor of a resource leads to investment, which leads to technology, which leads to reality. Atlas's presence can thus catalyze a cascade. Talk, funding, research, prototype, capability. In time, the speculative market that Atlas opened may spawn the industries that finally take humanity off-world. These economic and institutional effects are funneled and amplified through social networks. A single striking simulation of Atlas, an artist's rendering of a rectangular underside, or a scientist's simulation showing a tiny course correction, goes viral and becomes a meme. Memes are not trivial. They shape the narratives that people absorb. They frame how politicians speak, how schools teach, how families discuss the sky. Because memes simplify, nuance is lost. A complex probability becomes 0.005% chance of intention, then becomes definite alien probe in 1,000 retellings. Humans argue from the distilled versions. Rage, awe, and humor circulate. Social networks thus become both crucibles of creativity and accelerators of polarization. The feedback loop is insidious. The more the public believes an idea, the more institutions respond. The more institutional response legitimizes the idea. Atlas thus engineers social reality not by itself, but by creating conditions that allow human systems to create meaning and then act on it. When an object like Atlas complicates the global stage, the law scrambles to catch up. No international legal framework currently exists for an interstellar visitor whose nature is unclear. Questions proliferate. Who has the right to intercept or study it? If it contains biological material, who decides the quarantine protocols? If an artifact is recovered, who owns it? Humanity collectively? The nation that recovers it? A consortium? International bodies like the UN's Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, COPUOS, convene emergency panels. Drafts of new treaties circulate, Some nations push for open science, others demand secrecy, citing national security. Global governance cracks and reforms under pressure. The legal debates push nations to cooperate in some respects and compete in others. That tension itself rewires geopolitics. Long-term alliances are forged around scientific cooperation. Short-term rivalries around access to data flare up. Atlas forces humanity to construct new frameworks for shared stewardship of the unknown. The ethics of curiosity beyond law lies ethics. What should we do if Atlas contains technology? If it is a sleeping vessel, do we wake it? If it carries microbes, do we bring them home? If it is intentionally monitoring us, do we broadcast our presence in return? Ethics councils convene. Philosophers, religious leaders, and scientists offer frameworks. Some advocate for strict non-interference, invoking a cosmic prime directive. Others argue for cautious engagement, retrieve samples only under tightly controlled conditions. Still others emphasize the needs of knowledge. The default should be study, because ignorance risks repeating past mistakes. These debates are not academic. They recalibrate societal norms. New ethical standards for interstellar research shape curricula, grant criteria, and mission design. The humanity that must eventually reach for the stars learns to weigh curiosity alongside restraint. Atlas becomes the moment when our morals expand to include entities beyond Earth. Psychological rewiring at scale. At the level of individual minds, Atlas acts as a prolonged psychological stimulus. How does a society respond to a persistent, ambiguous threat or possibility? Research shows prolonged ambiguous stimuli can increase anxiety in some and increase meaning-making in others. Clinics see a spike in sky-focused anxiety. People who obsess over every tweet about Atlas, losing sleep. Therapists build programs to help people manage existential worry. At the same time, psychologists find a surge in prosocial behavior. People who feel small are sometimes kinder, more willing to cooperate. There's a paradox. Cosmos-induced humility can produce both dread and compassion. Entire artistic movements emerge from this emotional landscape. Songs that hum with distant starlight, films that imagine future ages shaped by the passing of Atlas. The emotional imprint of a single object thus pervades culture, altering behavior in subtle but measurable ways. Birth rates, philanthropic giving, and even electoral trends shift as collective moods change. Education and the new curriculum. If Atlas reshapes attention and funding, it inevitably reshapes education. Schools integrate modules on exobiology, on the history of planet-to-planet contact theories, on space ethics. Young students learn orbital mechanics alongside civic responsibility. Educators frame Atlas as a case study in interdisciplinary thinking. Science, art, law, and philosophy together. The result is practical, a generation more adaptable, better at thinking across boundaries. They will build instruments not in isolation but with an awareness of cultural and ethical consequences. Atlas pushes curricula from compartmentalized knowledge to integrated wisdom. Rituals and routines. Humans ritualize what matters. After Atlas's discovery, grassroots rituals arise. Communal sky-watching nights, virtual vigils to share observations, candlelight gatherings to honor the unknown. These rituals fill a social need. People want to participate in meaning-making. At the same time, daily routines change subtly. Commuters check telescope apps on their phones. Office chat channels host lively threads about recent readings. Dinner conversations now sometimes pause to watch a live feed from a remote observatory. Atlas becomes woven into the fabric of ordinary life, not as a spectacle to be consumed and forgotten, but as a recurring motif that nudges daily thought. The acceleration of space, capability. Perhaps the most concrete rewiring is technological acceleration. The combined effects, funding, interdisciplinary teams, legal frameworks, public interest, create fertile ground for rapid advancement. New launch contracts are signed. Companies pivot toward more ambitious missions. International coalitions established joint platforms for deep space observation. In a few short years, laboratories that were theoretical become applied. New propulsion concepts, new shield materials, and more robust deep space communication networks move from paper to prototype. Atlas didn't build these technologies, but it catalyzed the social and economic conditions that made them possible. The quiet political reconfigurations. The political chessboard subtly rearranges. Small countries that invest in observatories boost soft power. Universities become diplomatic partners. Scientific transparency becomes a bargaining chip in negotiations. In tacit ways, Atlas becomes part of the new matrix of global influence, where intellectual leadership confers legitimacy in a world that now prizes cosmic competence. What we lose, what we gain. No transformation is purely gain. The attention shifts can crowd out other worthy causes. Funds rerouted to sky programs may be diverted from immediate human needs. Conspiracy theories breed social distrust. The ethics of borrowing from a frantic curiosity are messy. Yet the gains are real. Accelerated science, more interconnected disciplines, a generation attuned to planetary stewardship, new international frameworks for cooperation, and a deepening public engagement with science. Atlas acts as an unusual teacher, sometimes harsh, sometimes illuminating, always demanding that humanity become more than it was. The long tale of change. Long after the bright tweets fade and the initial missions complete, Atlas's influence persists. The students who chose astrophysics because of a viral image now lead labs. The laws shaped in an emergency session of international courts form the basis of future space governance. The cultural rituals around skywatching become traditions. The industries born from speculative investments pivot into necessary infrastructure for a society that is now outward-looking. This is how a single object, silent and distant, rewires a civilization. Not by direct contact, but by setting off cascades of human response that multiply, interlock and stabilize into new systems. A quiet invitation. So what is 3i Atlas doing to humanity here and now? It is opening doors. It is asking us to pay attention. It is teaching us to build new tools and new ethics, to rewire education, to imagine different economies, to test our legal muscles, and to feel in our bones that the cosmos matters. Perhaps its most significant action is subtle. It is inviting us to graduate from a race of isolated planet-bound actors to a species capable of thinking in cosmic time. That is no small feat. It requires patience, humility, and an ability to hold doubt without surrendering curiosity. As you breathe in now, imagine the quiet glow of Atlas drifting where you cannot touch it. Sense how its presence eases and quickens the human world in equal measure. Feel the technologies lined up like seedlings, ready for the rain of attention. Feel the ethics being wrestled into shape. Feel a generation being trained to meet what might come. Atlas does not force us, it invites. What if 3i Atlas is not changing our machines or our politics most of all, but our myths? What if its greatest effect on humanity is not in science labs or launch pads, but in the soft, fragile theatre of the human imagination? For we are a storytelling species, and every time something enters our sky, we weave it into a narrative. Atlas is not only data, it is story fuel, and story is how humanity builds its identity. Since the first human eyes looked up at the stars, we have told stories to explain them. Stars became hunters, lovers, tricksters, guardians. Comets were omens, warnings, messengers. Each streak across the night sky became a line in a myth. 3i Atlas is no different. Already it has slipped into our narratives. Some see it as a harbinger of change, some as a probe of alien minds, some as a mirror reflecting our fears, some as a teacher calling us upward. The moment it was named, it became more than ice and rock. It became a character, and characters live longer in memory than data points. The Internet Age myth-making. Unlike past comets, Three-Eye Atlas emerges in an age of instantaneous global connection. A sighting in one hemisphere is posted within minutes, reaching billions of screens. Memes transform complex astrophysics into symbolic images. YouTube thumbnails paint it as a glowing mothership. TikTok compresses it into 10-second bursts of awe or alarm. Never before has a cosmic object entered culture with such velocity. The internet is a myth-making machine, and Atlas is its perfect raw material. A little ambiguity, a touch of strangeness, and an endless appetite for meaning. These combine into folklore born not in oral tradition but in live-stream chat rooms. The myths spread fast. Some communities embrace Atlas as a divine sign. Others spin conspiracies of hidden governments working with alien visitors. Others dream utopian tales of galactic brotherhood. And yet, each story says less about Atlas itself and more about the humans who tell it. Atlas as mirror, here lies the key. Three-Eye Atlas acts as a mirror. When we look at it, we see ourselves. The fearful see invasion. The hopeful see salvation. The scientists see mystery. The poets see metaphor. In this way, Atlas becomes an amplifier of human psychology. Whatever archetype sleeps in our cultural imagination, Atlas awakens it. Heroes and villains, gods and monsters, mentors and tricksters, all project onto a cometary visitor. Thus, Atlas rewires humanity's stories by giving us a new canvas upon which to project our eternal archetypes. Religious reinterpretations. Faith communities adapt quickly. Sermons begin to include Atlas in their metaphors. Some leaders present it as a divine messenger, a cosmic test, or even a sign of the end times. Others treat it as a symbol of creation's vastness, proof of the divine hand at work across interstellar distances. New religious movements emerge around it. Groups form online to meditate on the energy of Atlas, aligning it with ancient prophecies or newly invented rituals. Some build narratives of cosmic guardianship, claiming that Atlas is a watcher, ensuring humanity's survival. Regardless of doctrine, the spiritual imagination integrates Atlas, folding it into the tapestry of myth. Every religion that has endured has absorbed new phenomena into its stories. Atlas becomes another thread in this millennia-old weaving. Atlas and the artists move quickly. Painters render luminous streaks across city skies. Sculptors design installations with icy geometric forms. Musicians compose symphonies that begin in silence and erupt into chaotic crescendos, mirroring its sudden appearance. Writers craft novels imagining the civilizations that might have sent it. Filmmakers use Atlas as a backdrop for love stories, political allegories, or existential reflections. Dancers embody its trajectory, leaping, spinning, then fading into the wings. Art makes the abstract intimate. Through it, Atlas ceases to be distant rock and becomes something felt in the chest, in the gut, in the breath. The arts ensure that its story is not merely data, but experience. The stories around the Three-Eye Atlas crystallize into archetypes. The visitor, a being that arrives unannounced, bearing either danger or wisdom. The watcher, a silent presence whose gaze judges humanity's worth. The mirror, a thing that reflects our own souls back at us. The key, a doorway to a new stage of existence, a harbinger of transformation. These archetypes are not new, they echo through folklore, scripture and literature, but Atlas reactivates them in a modern setting. Suddenly, humanity's oldest myths live again in the age of satellites and streaming, and once an archetype is active, it shapes choices. Politicians frame policies as defense against the visitor. Artists invite contemplation of the mirror, educators teach students to see Atlas as a key. These archetypes guide action as much as belief. No cultural shift occurs without shadow stories. Conspiracy theories grow wild. Claims that Atlas is a government craft, a cover for secret satellites, or even a holographic projection designed to manipulate public opinion. While false, these narratives reveal an important truth. Atlas exposes the fractures in our trust networks. People who distrust institutions see in it another manipulation. People hungry for secret knowledge see in it hidden codes. The object becomes a stage upon which human distrust performs itself. These counter-narratives, though destabilizing, are still part of the myth-making process. They reveal what humanity fears as much as what it hopes. But myths can also unify. Shared fascination is itself a kind of social glue. Across nations and languages, people gaze at the same sky, watch the same live streams, debate the same theories. Atlas becomes a rare point of global conversation. Whether people believe it is natural or artificial, ominous or wondrous, they are at least speaking about it together. In an era of fragmentation, Atlas briefly recenters humanity's imagination on a single phenomenon. That collective attention itself is a unifying myth. We are one species, sharing one sky, wondering together. At the heart of these stories lies a timeless human trait, fear of the unknown. Comets have always symbolized disruption. Their unpredictability unsettled ancient observers. Atlas carries that same charge. It is a reminder that the universe is vast, unpredictable, and beyond our control. But fear, too, can be creative. It pushes us to prepare, to question, to adapt. In mythic terms, fear is the dragon guarding the treasure. To face Atlas is to face ourselves, our limits, our ignorance, our longing for control. Balanced against fear is hope, the hope that Atlas is proof of intelligence, that we are not alone, that the universe holds companionship, wisdom, even salvation. This hope permeates stories of galactic community, of humanity joining larger networks, of cosmic awakening. Hope is a powerful motivator. It drives funding, inspires art, comforts the anxious. Even if Atlas proves only ice and dust, the hope it kindles remains, pushing humanity toward exploration. Children growing up under the shadow of 3i/Atlas will inherit these stories. For them, Atlas will not be just an object from a textbook. It will be a memory of the night their parents pointed at the sky, of the live stream their teachers showed, of the story that inspired their first drawing. This generational imprint matters. The children who grow up with Atlas as a cultural backdrop will carry its archetypes into adulthood. They will be the engineers, philosophers, and leaders of tomorrow, already trained to see humanity's story as part of a cosmic drama. Fictional narratives about Atlas may eventually become blueprints for reality. Science fiction has often preceded science fact. Submarines, rockets, cell phones. Stories plant seeds in imagination, and some grow into engineering projects. If novels describe missions to chase Atlas, agencies may design them. If films depict Atlas as a probe to awaken, teams may build instruments to listen. Fiction gives permission to try. In this way, the myths humanity tells about Atlas may shape the missions it eventually undertakes. Already, whispers circulate of global nights of wonder. International organizations propose annual festivals where cities dim their lights and people gather to watch the stars. Atlas becomes the symbolic centerpiece, a reminder of mystery, a ritual of humility. Such festivals would be more than entertainment. They would be training in awe, exercises in unity. A planetary holiday not of nationalism or war, but of shared cosmic curiosity. Atlas thus seeds not only myths, but rituals that could endure for generations. Perhaps the most subtle effect of all, story heals. In a fractured world, myths can soothe. To imagine Atlas as a watcher, as a teacher, as a silent companion, these narratives comfort as much as they unsettle. Even those who doubt its significance still feel the ripple of shared imagination. When billions think together, something in the collective psyche harmonizes. Story, like music, aligns, and Atlas provides the melody. So what is 3i Atlas doing to humanity through myth? It is rewriting our story. It is giving us a new chapter in our eternal book of visitors and signs, of fears and hopes. It is showing us ourselves in the mirror of the cosmos. It is reminding us that we are not only a technological species, but a narrative one. And long after Atlas has vanished into the dark, the myths it inspired will remain. Children will tell them. Artists will echo them. Scholars will analyse them. Humanity's destiny is shaped as much by stories as by machines, and Atlas has gifted us one of the greatest stories of all, the tale of a silent traveller that passed through our skies and left our souls changed. What if 3i/Atlas is not here to change our machines, nor even our stories, but to press upon humanity the heaviest and most luminous of questions? Why are we here? For when a silent traveller glides past us from interstellar night, the reflection is not only scientific, it is existential. Atlas is not only an object in space, it is a mirror of our place in the cosmos. From the earliest myths to the most sophisticated philosophies, humans have asked, why do we exist? Every culture has given an answer. Some said we are children of gods, some said we are sparks of an infinite flame, some said we are chance arrangements of atoms. But each answer was fragile, for the universe was largely unknown. With every new discovery, new planets, new galaxies, new physics, the question opened wider. Now Atlas has come, and it cracks open the silence once more. Its mere presence forces the question back into human consciousness. Are we alone, or are we one among many? Imagine humanity as a single campfire burning in the vast forest of the universe. For millennia, we suspected there might be other fires glowing in the distance. Yet each time we looked, we saw only darkness. The arrival of 3i/Atlas is like a faint rustle in the trees. Perhaps it is only the wind, perhaps it is a messenger, but suddenly the campfire does not feel so isolated. The silence is broken. If Atlas is natural, it is a reminder that the universe carries messages even without intention. If it is artificial, it is the greatest revelation in history. We are not alone. Either way, our solitude feels less absolute. Psychologists know that loneliness reshapes the mind. A lonely person begins to doubt their worth, to question their purpose. Humanity has often lived as if it were the only intelligence in the cosmos. That loneliness has produced both arrogance and despair. On one hand, it convinced us that Earth is the centre of meaning. On the other, it whispered that meaning is an illusion, for nothing beyond Earth can care. Atlas changes this. Even if it is not intelligent, it is a visitor. And a visitor interrupts loneliness. To think in interstellar terms is to stretch the human mind beyond its natural scale. Normally we think in days, in years, in lifetimes. Atlas reminds us that there are journeys older than nations, older than languages, older than civilization itself. Its path through our solar system may have begun before humans even learned to shape stone tools. Its exit will carry it into futures beyond our imagining. To look at Atlas is to measure ourselves against cosmic time. In this light, humanity's quarrels, borders and ideologies shrink. We are momentary ripples on an ancient sea. Atlas is a wave from that sea, cresting silently through our awareness. Faced with such vastness, humans cannot help but ask, what is the purpose of our existence? If Atlas is natural, perhaps the universe is reminding us that purpose is not given, but created. Meaning is not handed down from stars, but forged by beings capable of asking the question. If Atlas is artificial, perhaps its makers had purpose, exploration, communication, survival. And if they had purpose, then so might we. Atlas whispers, purpose is possible. Even across light years, beings search, move, strive. Thus, Atlas reopens the oldest debate. Are we accidental wanderers, or intentional participants in a cosmic drama? There is an ancient paradox in philosophy. Does something exist fully if it is never observed? A tree falls in a forest. Is there sound if no ear hears it? Atlas intensifies this paradox. It drifted through space for millions of years, unseen. Only now with human telescopes is it witnessed. Has its meaning changed because it is seen? Perhaps Atlas suggests that observation itself is sacred, that to look at the universe is to complete it, that humanity's purpose is in part to witness. to be the eyes through which the cosmos sees itself. To contemplate Atlas is also to contemplate death. It is a reminder that nothing endures forever, not even stars. Atlas has survived epochs, but one day even it will erode, scatter, vanish. So too with humanity. Our empires fall. Our species too will one day vanish, unless it evolves or journeys outward. Atlas is a reminder of impermanence, but impermanence can inspire urgency. Knowing we are temporary can ignite the will to create, to love, to explore. Atlas whispers, life is fleeting, but in its fleetingness lies beauty. Humility is not humiliation. It is recognition of scale. To see Atlas against the infinite backdrop of galaxies is to feel small, and yet that smallness is liberating. We're not the masters of the universe. We are its children. Our technologies are sparks against its vastness. Our philosophies are whispers in its silence. But humility is the beginning of wisdom. To be small is to be teachable. Atlas teaches by existing. There is more than you, more than Earth, more than now. Yet humility carries danger. Some fear that if we are small, we are meaningless. If we are one among countless, then nothing we do matters. Atlas becomes a symbol of insignificance. But significance is not measured by size. A poem is smaller than a mountain, yet it can change a heart. A moment of kindness is smaller than an empire, yet it can ripple across generations. So too with humanity. Even if we are small, our capacity for meaning is infinite. Atlas does not erase our significance. It expands the canvas on which we can paint it. Here lies perhaps the deepest question. What should humanity become in light of Atlas? Should we turn inward, protecting our fragile world from the vastness beyond? Or should we turn outward, joining the cosmos in its eternal dance? Atlas suggests outwardness. It is movement, journey, travel. Its presence says, there is more to see, more to know, more to become. If we follow its example, perhaps we will build ships, not merely stories. Perhaps we will write our purpose not only in myth, but in starlight. Humans crave companionship. Loneliness gnaws at individuals and at species. To imagine we're alone forever is unbearable to many. Atlas offers a possibility of companionship, if not with its makers, then with itself. Even a silent visitor can be companion, for to know that something from beyond has touched our neighborhood is to know we are connected to a larger community of matter and motion. Even if Atlas carries no message, it carries presence, and presence is enough to comfort. Perhaps Atlas is a test, though not in the way conspiracies claim. Not a test given by aliens, but a test we give ourselves. How do we react to the unknown? With fear, with wonder, with violence, with curiosity. Our response to Atlas is a mirror of our maturity as a species. If we descend into panic and division, perhaps we are not ready for greater encounters. If we unite in awe and inquiry, perhaps we prove ourselves capable of joining a larger cosmic dialogue. Atlas is not judge, but it reveals judgment, ours upon ourselves. One comet can remind us how fragile our world is. Civilizations rise and fall, but cosmic events care little for them. Atlas does not target us, but its kin, asteroids, comets, have ended ages before. To look at Atlas is to feel the thinness of Earth's shield. We are small beings on a fragile sphere, vulnerable to cosmic chance. But recognition of fragility is not despair. It is motivation to prepare, to protect, to grow resilient. Atlas whispers, you are fragile, but you can endure. Ultimately, Atlas is a call to transcendence, to rise beyond pettiness, to live for more than survival, to stretch imagination to match the stars. Transcendence does not mean escape. It means expansion. It means carrying Earth's songs into space. It means seeing humanity as part of a story older than planets, larger than galaxies. Atlas does not demand worship, it demands wonder, and wonder is the doorway to transcendence. So what is 3i Atlas doing to humanity in the existential sense? It is reshaping our self-image. We're no longer a lonely campfire in a silent forest. We are participants in a cosmic drama, whether or not others join the stage. We are beings capable of asking, of imagining, of creating. Atlas is a reminder that our existence is both fragile and profound. That meaning is not given but made, that we are not the center, but neither are we nothing. We are the storytellers of the universe, and Atlas is the newest story whispered into our collective dream. What if 3i Atlas is not just a traveller through our skies, but a message written across time? A message not only about who we are now, but who we are meant to become. Perhaps its gift is not answers, but questions. Perhaps its purpose is not to change our present, but to invite us into a future beyond imagination. When Atlas first streaked across our telescopes, humanity did not change overnight. No great fleet rose into the stars. No global awakening swept across every city. Life continued. Markets opened, schools ran, lovers quarrelled, children played. Yet beneath that normality, something stirred. A quiet shift, like the first tremors before an earthquake. Atlas planted a seed of possibility, and that seed continues to grow. Because once you know something can exist, you can never unknow it. Every visitor from the cosmos has changed us. Meteorites gave us iron before we learned to mine it. Lunar cycles gave us calendars before we mastered astronomy. The planets gave us myths before we built telescopes. What will Atlas give? Even if it carries no machines, it gives us vision. Scientists are already sketching ideas for interstellar interceptors, spacecraft that could launch within years to chase the next object like Atlas, to meet it face to face. Without Atlas, that dream would still be a fantasy. With Atlas, it feels urgent, achievable, necessary. Perhaps 1,000 years from now, our descendants will trace their first true interstellar journey back to this moment, when a strange, icy traveller passed through, and humanity decided it would not only watch the stars, but join them. Strange as it sounds, Atlas also does something political. It unites us. For a moment, nations and cultures share a common question. What is this thing? It belongs to no one, and yet to all. Its trajectory ignores borders. Its mystery dissolves divisions. History shows us that shared threats can unite humanity. Wars, disasters, diseases. But shared wonders can do the same, without the cost of blood. Atlas is such a wonder, and in its shimmering wake there lies the possibility of a planetary identity. Humanity not as tribes, but as one species beneath the same sky. Religions, too, cannot ignore Atlas. Some see it as a sign of creation, of prophecy, of divine order. Others see it as a challenge, proof that the universe is larger and stranger than doctrines dreamed. But whether comfort or disruption, Atlas compels rethinking. It expands every narrative of faith, reminding believers that their God, their spirit, their mystery is not confined to Earth. The divine must stretch across galaxies, or else shrink before them. Thus, Atlas does to spirituality what it does to science. It enlarges the frame. Yet with all this wonder comes unease. For Atlas does not only symbolize hope, it also whispers a darker possibility. What if we are not ready? What if our weapons are sharper than our wisdom? What if our divisions are deeper than our dreams? What if meeting the cosmos too soon would not elevate us but destroy us? Some fear Atlas is a test, others a warning. Perhaps its role is to remind us that evolution is not only biological but moral, that survival in the cosmos requires not just technology but maturity. But here is the paradox. Whether we are ready or not, the future is coming. Children born today will live under skies where the memory of Atlas is fresh. They will grow up asking questions that their parents never considered. Some will become scientists inspired by the mystery. Others will become artists, painting visions of alien contact. Others will become dreamers, philosophers, storytellers, weaving Atlas into the myth of humanity. And in their hands, the future will take shape. They will be, in a sense, the children of Atlas. Atlas itself will not linger. Already it is receding into the darkness, moving farther each night. Soon it will be gone, beyond the reach of telescopes, beyond the touch of our instruments, fading back into the interstellar sea. But its departure is not the end. It is the beginning, for it leaves behind questions that no civilization can ignore. Are we alone? Are we watched? Are we ready? And most of all, what shall we become? These questions are now stitched into humanity's fabric. If history teaches us anything, it is that the unknown is a mirror. How we respond to it defines us. In one future, humanity turns inward. We dismiss Atlas, cling to old fears, and stagnate. The stars remain forever distant. In another, humanity rises. We use Atlas as a spark, ignite exploration, build ships, spread across the void. The stars become our inheritance. And in yet another, we discover that the stars are not empty, that others are waiting, watching, welcoming, or warning. Which future unfolds depends not on Atlas but on us. And yet, even if Atlas fades, even if we never solve its riddle, it will remain eternal in one way. It is now part of our story. Humanity's myths began with constellations. Our religions grew under comets. Our sciences blossomed under stars. And now Atlas joins that lineage. It is one more chapter in the great epic of human imagination. And unlike stars that burn for billions of years, our memory of Atlas will not fade. It will be carved in books, in films, in dreams. In 1,000 years, perhaps its name will still be whispered, not as comet, but as symbol. So, what is 3 Atlas doing to humanity? It is stretching us, testing us, inspiring us, frightening us, uniting us, dividing us. Atlas is not only a traveller through space, it is a traveller through us. It moves across our science, our politics, our myths, our very sense of self. It may be natural, it may be artificial, it may be neither or both, but its greatest power is not in what it is, but in what it does. To us, it leaves us with one haunting, luminous truth. Humanity has crossed a threshold. We will never again see the cosmos as silent, empty, indifferent. We will see it as alive, mysterious, full of possibility. And perhaps that is Atlas's purpose all along, not to reveal itself, but to awaken us. As it glides away, fading into darkness, Atlas gives no answers. It leaves only silence. But in that silence, humanity hears its own heartbeat, louder than ever before. And in that heartbeat lies the future, a future where we, the dreamers of Earth, will one day follow Atlas into the stars. Until then, we watch, we wonder, and we wait.